Hello, hello, welcome to, I'm yelling, I'm so sorry.
It's an appraiser. Go ahead. You need to yell out. We expect you to yell at us.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. I am with Sir Jim Welch, and you are visiting us here in this episode of Coffee and Contracts with an appraiser, Sir Jim Welch. And honestly, I don't even know why we call you Sir Jim. My mentor here in real estate, I'm Jenn realtor with Keller Williams, and this is Sir Jim Welch, realtor and appraiser with Keller Williams.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me. And before we get started with the really stuff that I am so excited about, I also want to know, why do we call you Sir Jim?
Because I'm old. Actually, it started with the board of directors, local raw board of directors, and Jim Cady is the president this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the first meetings, they started off and said, Jim, what do you think? And 2 or 3 people in the room started speaking that were all Jims. And Jim Cady said, excuse me, we'll now have him as Sir Jim. And then it kind of filtered over to Keller Williams somehow, and now it has become... I
can't call him Jim. He's not old enough to be Mr. Jim, so you're just Sir Jim.
Sir Jim.
Sir Jim. And he has got gold coming out of his mouth. We're just chatting before we started filming, and I was like, yes, I wanted to know that. Yes, I wanted to know that. But I have to warn you guys that he will probably say, it depends, more than you would like him to, but then he follows up with some good explanation as to why it depends. So let's just get started. We know that our home is an investment. It's something that, just like the stock market, it is an investment. And the appraiser that values the home has a lot to do with that investment. And so being in close relationship with Sir Jim has been valuable to my business, because I get to work very closely with homeowners, and a lot of them have a lot of questions. So let's just start off with one of the biggest, most exciting questions that there are, and one that I get all the time: the do's and don'ts. So I'll get a phone call. So Jen, I am thinking of selling my home. Should I put granite countertops in the kitchen before I do that? Should I update the cabinets? Should I paint everything white? I'm noticing everybody has white cabinets. So, Sir Jim, can you tell us 2 or 3 should do's and maybe 2 or 3 should not do's before you put your house on the market?
Maybe. It depends.
Told you!
It depends on the property and the use of the property.
Okay.
Some people, if it is a rental property, there are things that you might want to put in, but you shouldn't. For instance, refrigerators with ice makers, not a good idea. I know recently an individual had a house, tenant moved the refrigerator to get something that had fallen behind.
Mm-hmm.
The ice maker connection from the plumbing came loose, and it flooded the house.
Oh.
All of the flooring has to be replaced. Some work has to be done on the cabinets. Big problem.
Yeah.
So if it's for a rental, there are some things you may want to do, some things you won't want to do, depending on the price range of the house.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a $50,000 house, probably don't put granite countertops in the $50,000 house.
It's not going to raise the value.
You're not going to raise the value, and it's going to be an expense that you will not recoup.
Okay.
But if you have a $1 million house you want to put on the market, and I know of one currently in which they have Formica countertops, well, it would probably do them a world of good. Probably would more than recoup the cost of doing the granite countertops.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes and no.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's a great example. Swimming pools. Is a swimming pool a good thing? I have never personally wanted a swimming pool, but due to quarantine, I have never wanted a pool more in my life than I do right now. Is that a good idea if you're going to be selling in the next 2 or 3 years?
Depends on the price range and location.
Okay.
If I was appraising a house in Florida and it didn't have a pool, that would probably be a problem.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There are neighborhoods where my son lives in which every house has a pool.
Wow.
And it's expected. In South Louisiana, that's not necessarily the case.
Mm-hmm.
Swimming pools tend to be more like new cars when you drive them off the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
You lose so much value once you just pull off the parking lot in a brand new car.
Right.
Well, when you put it in the swimming pool,
Value.
you immediately lose some of the value.
Gotcha.
Just because of the market here in South Louisiana. So if you want it, if it's something for your family to enjoy, absolutely do it. If it's to be an investment, absolutely don't do it. You're not going to recoup your cost to put it in.
Now, these neighborhoods that have swimming pools in them, like we see a lot of manual builders, DSLD, oh, that cute one off of Vera that just got built. Oh, I love it. The Woodlands, sorry, this is my thinking fingers.
Okay.
They have a pool. Does it matter in these kind of subdivisions, or does that play into effect?
Yeah, neighborhood swimming pools have a good effect. They have a draw. Green areas always have a draw. I was appraising a property in an older neighborhood right now. The property values are fairly good, but they've got an old park that the city is putting some new lights in, and I anticipate just because they're lighting it up, they're cleaning up this park, it's going to raise the values in the neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, subdivision pools and rec areas tend to add value to the neighborhood.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so when I am, as a real estate agent, when I am looking at the value of a house and I'm running comparables, and there's not much activity in this particular neighborhood, how far, is it miles, is it blocks, how far can I go out to use that information?
Okay, if it's to provide to an appraiser or to a mortgage company, they have certain guidelines.
Oh, okay.
And generally, guidelines go from within 1 mile, no longer than 1 year. They may push for 6 to 9 months, probably for the age of the comparables. But if you're providing information to a homeowner, and I do appraisals for homeowners, and I tell them very quickly, I may go back 1.5 years.
Okay.
If there's more data, and I'll look at the actives, I'll look at the expireds, and the sales, because then you can kind of squeeze everything together. It's like, well, it expired here, so I know it's not this much,
Okay.
but this one sold in 3 days on the market, so maybe it's more than this much, and so you just kind of start pushing this box together. And the more data I have, the better answer I can give people. Especially, I did a house that was built in 1850 2 weeks ago. I will go back 4 or 5 years. I may go back 70 miles to find houses that are truly comparable in the quality of construction in that particular era or period, because the construction, the quality was very different over different generations, and things that they included and didn't include.
Yeah.
For instance, I did one where a lady said the house was 1830, and she says, "You shut up, you take notes, I'll tell you everything about the house, because you'll miss everything." And so we walked into the dining room, and she said, "This wood ceiling, if you'll notice that there's a painting on top of the wood ceiling that is a shadow reflection of the chandelier. If you stand in a certain spot under the chandelier, you will not be able to even see the painting. It was so carefully done." And I said, "Well, that's nice, but that's not a wood ceiling, it's a plaster ceiling."
Oh.
In that generation, they did what's called trick of the eye painting, and they would paint ceilings so that they appeared to be tongue and groove wood ceilings. They would paint them so they looked like they vaulted or they were higher.
Whoa.
And so you have to be careful what you're looking at and the generations that you're looking at. They actually took that idea to California, who was very energy conservative, but people wanted high ceilings and vaulted ceilings, and so they started, this was probably 10 years ago, they started painting ceilings to look like vault, but yet they would have only the 8-foot ceilings for energy savings.
So in your opinion, does that look good?
Some of them you cannot tell.
Wow.
Some of the artists are just amazing. This lady had lived there 30 years and did not know that that was not a wood ceiling. She swore it was a wood ceiling.
That is so
In
interesting.
fact, we stopped the appraisal so she could get her ladder and climb up and touch it and see that it was plastered.
Well, this brings up another good question. I'm curious, I work with a lot of for sale by owners. Probably 85-90% of my sellers have once been for sale by owners. And so they have a lot of, and this is different from the clients that are friends of mine that call me and trust me already. We build up a lot of trust in that process. And so they're telling me about their house and they love their house. I mean, a home is a very personal thing to a lot of people. And so sometimes the advice that I give isn't taken, we haven't built that relationship yet, if that makes sense. So my question is, do you think that people, sellers that are thinking of selling their house, should they get an appraisal before they even think about putting it on the market?
Absolutely, maybe. If there are different levels of appraisals. The reports are different levels and involve different standards and conditions. If an individual is saying, I just want to know what my house is worth, there is a form, there's a process that you can do that doesn't restrict you as far as how far away you can go, how far back you can go. They're usually much cheaper because you don't have to put all the mortgage required documents in there. And so if someone is just really confused, really doesn't have a good feeling, absolutely. Worst thing that can happen is they underprice it and they can practically give their house away. That's
hard. That's heartbreaking. I hate that.
So would you like to lose $10,000 selling the house or spend a couple $100s on an appraisal?
B,
you're the winner. Yes,
I choose
and
B.
That would be. So I do a lot of that for people. In the same vein, if you put your house on, as you know, if the house is on the market for 9 months, 10 months, a year, and doesn't sell, you have very few lookers, then
the market is telling you
the
something.
market is telling you something, and it'll actually damage what you'll sell the house for.
Yeah, I do know this firsthand. It's something called market staleness. If it's been on the market too long, overpriced, it could be a wonderful house, nothing wrong with it, and now priced appropriately, there is red flags that go up in buyers' minds that prevent them from making an offer, whereas if we would have started at that price from the very beginning, we would have been under contract, instantly. So I do, and now especially entering into the recession, or maybe just not, that might be a big word for where we are now, but maybe just the unsteadiness of our current state, to have an appraisal and to even price it a hair lower than that is instant value to a customer.
Absolutely.
So someone looking at this house, I'm not overpaying for this, is peace of mind.
Absolutely. And the other things, they get some information. A lot of people that purchase houses and square footage was wrong.
Very good point. That's a good way to get accurate square
It'd be
footage.
horrible to get a contract on your property and then the evil appraiser comes in and says, poof, you've lost 200 square feet and the value's gone. So
that would be bad.
Yeah.
That would be bad. Tell me something else. What's another question that you get often from?
A lot of it's additions. I had a person recently has a 3-car garage.
Okay.
They added some children, twins, and they were outgrown the house. But they love the neighborhood, they love the house, other than just need at least one more bedroom.
Okay.
So their thought was convert one of the garages into a bedroom. Excellent idea.
That's a good idea.
But it depends on the efficiency, the flow of the house.
Oh.
I mean, if the bedroom's added to the back of another bedroom and you have to go through the bedroom to get to that bedroom, that's a bad deal.
Bad idea.
This particular idea was we want the 2 bays closest to the house to remain as garages, so that when we get out in bad weather, we go directly into the house. And the other bedroom would be on the far side of the 2 garages. Living area definition says it must be contiguous heated and cooled space, which means
That's a big word, contiguous. What does that mean?
means once you leave heated and cooled, it's no longer a living area. No
Oh,
matter
has to
how
be
nice it's
connected.
done, you have to be able to access from the inside of the house, like a continuous flow inside. Once you go
Wow.
outside, it's no longer a living area.
Wow, and I can see that. I mean, if you have an adult child still living at your house, even a high school kid, that's no big deal. Put them on the other side of the garage, but that's not going to help your property
No,
value.
no, it will not be a living area. It's considered a functional obsolescence. There's another good term you can put in the.
I won't be writing. There will be no transcripts of this video.
And so those are problems. So that's often a question that I'll get. The answer for this individual was, you absolutely want the two garages next to it? Absolutely. Then sell your house, start looking in your neighborhood or wherever, competing neighborhood.
Wow.
But don't do this. You're going to lose money.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to be said for having an advisor before you go in to make this decision.
Do you want to add a little mother-in-law apartment to the back of your house?
And
Detached?
That is.
Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
No.
No. No, I would have thought yes.
It can be.
Okay.
Okay, if you're in the St. Street area, you see that all the time. You see little garage apartments or whatever. If it's typical for the neighborhood, it's a good idea. If it's atypical for the neighborhood, remember, once you leave the house, it's no longer a living area and it gets valued at a different rate. The other thing is, because of COVID-19, a lot of the lenders are really researching this, because they're saying, well, we want to finance single-family residences. And if it has a mother-in-law suite, we may change the interest rate, we may change the mortgage requirements, because that is not a part of a single-family house.
Wow, that is so interesting. So, a lot of people, a lot of my clients think that you can hire your own appraisal. So, like, if you're selling your house, you can choose the appraiser that's going to come and appraise it, and that's not correct. That's the lender that chooses the appraisal.
Exactly.
Tell me how that works.
And that's a yes and no also. It depends.
It depends.
If the lender is a institution that keeps the paper in-house, it is not a GSE, a government-sponsored entity, FHA, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Then some of these institutions will allow you to pick whomever you want to do the appraisal. 99.9% go through GSEs, and you do not get the option to pick the appraiser.
So y'all are all on a list, and it kind of circulates round robins through the appraisers?
Spin the dial and see whose name comes up. Absolutely. You do have the right, though, in some cases, if there is an obvious conflict, some uneasiness, you can say, I'd rather not, to the lender, and they may spin the dial again.
Okay. Oh, good to know.
But you have to have a good reason, not just, he's not high enough for me. I want someone that's going to be really high. I like this one, and they don't keep spinning the dial until it finally lands on the one you want.
Gotcha. Okay. I kind of I was advised by you, and so I want to share because I think that it's worth sharing. I, of course, run comparables for my clients, and I price it up to where I think it will appraise. So whenever I get a phone call, where our house is under contract, and then the appraiser calls and says, "Hey, Jen, can I come to the house to do the appraisal tomorrow at noon?" I want to say, okay, but can I send you the comparables that I saw, and can I tell you what I love about the house, and can I tell you this? And I have often, at the beginning of my career, been hesitant to do that because I don't want to seem pushy. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to make you, excuse me, I'm trying to make you say something.
or the homeowner, I mean the homeowner or the realtor, give me as much information as you can. Let me, because after I finish the report and you call up and say, well, you did know it's a new dishwasher, you did know that we changed the countertops, you did know, and I may not know.
And then it was too late.
Then it'll be difficult.
Okay.
It is always difficult at that point to make changes, and the lenders are a little bit hesitant to make changes. Why are you making this new value? The other thing is, when the COVID-19 started, the government said, and the Appraisal Foundation, which oversees all the appraisers, that we are concerned about your safety, the homeowner's safety, realtor's safety. So in many cases, you will not go in the house. The appraisal will be done from the exterior only.
Isn't that mind-boggling?
So if I don't have recent pictures, recent lists of information, I may have the MLS sheet. There's just so much data you can put on the MLS sheet,
right,
and it may not have all the things that you would like to tell me on there. So I always recommend,
especially during these times,
especially this time with those situations that can arise. The other thing is besides the comparable data information, what if there's comparable that truly isn't a comparable? Maybe you know, because you work the neighborhood, you are the neighborhood realtor, and you know that this particular sale was because the people were getting a divorce or he just lost his job.
Yes, remember that one in Broussard?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, gosh.
And if that happens, I may not know. I may just see the sale and say, oh, it's next door, it's two doors away, and I don't know that it truly wasn't an arm's length condition. It truly didn't meet the definition of a free sale, arm's length transaction. That person was under duress.
Right.
They were going to sell that house and get out of there as fast as they could.
Right.
So I don't mind you telling me.
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't use this sale. And if you tell me, hey, the guy lost his job and that's the reason it sold in 2 days for this price.
Yeah, so realtor friends out there who happen to be watching this video, I encourage you, because I was afraid to do it, and I've been doing it since Sir Jim advised me to, and the appraisers are open to it. Of course, they're not going to say, don't tell me that. They want help. Of course, everyone wants help. So if you can just, in a respectful way, say, this is what I got. Mind if I send you a text or send you an email of what I got and why I got it? It's they can use it or they cannot use it, but they certainly can't use it if they don't have it. So, and
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you telling me to do that. So we were talking about doing an appraisal before, but Sir Jim also does just go out and quick measure things.
Call me, I have questions about my house. I've been appraising for over 45 years, and so at this particular part of my career, I just enjoy talking to homeowners, realtors, giving them information, conversing with people, and hopefully saving them money.
And you do have a passion about it. I
Oh,
love
yes,
speaking
absolutely.
to you about this kind of thing. It's just, you can tell it drives you, and you're so great with people. When he's not in his garden, he would love to talk about properties.
I only pick. I don't do tilling. I don't do weeding. My
you just
wife,
harvest?
I'm the harvester and the eater, consumer.